Hi, my name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group based down here in Tampa, Florida. Today we're going to be discussing the differences between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. There's a bunch of similarities between them. The main difference is just the way that it's taxed. Now, a traditional IRA is going to be on the qualified side. That's going to be your pre-tax money. Different qualified plans that we talked about in the past were the 401k, 403b, 457 plans. Look at the different videos between qualified versus non-qualified plans. It'll help you understand a little bit more of the specifics on basically how the way it's taxed. With a 401k or a 403b, those are employer-sponsored retirement plans. So ultimately, you're working for an employer, you're putting X amount of money away, they're setting up your retirement plan, you have limited funds in those plans, and they're the ones who are controlling basically your retirement destination. A lot of people don't necessarily want to work at that same company forever, and they want to either change companies, and they want to make sure that their old retirement savings are kept with them at all times. So they roll them over because both on the qualified side, a rollover just constitutes a non-taxable event. Rather than pulling the money out of your 401k plan, waiting a couple of years and then dumping it into these plans, you take it and you roll over so that it could still accumulate on a tax-deferred growth and power of compound interest. So once again, qualified just means pre-tax. Basically, pre-tax, say if you're making, hypothetically, you're making $100,000 and you have an IRA and you say, okay, I want to contribute more into it. You say, I want to put $5,000 into these plans. At the end of the year, like I said in previous videos, this is tax deductible because it is on the qualified side. Meaning that at the end of the year, you'd be taxed on making $95,000, not $100,000. So you're getting your tax deduction now to pay taxes later on. This is going to grow tax deferred. Now, with a traditional IRA, unlike an employer-sponsored retirement plan such as a 401k, 401ks, they mainly go in with just mutual funds, a mixture of stocks and bonds. With a traditional IRA, you're going to have a lot more different funding options, and you'll be able to have, you could pick individual stocks, majority of them are mutual funds, but you do have that flexibility to kind of understand and mold a plan specifically for your likings. Whatever the money is that you contribute into these plans, and like I said before, whatever you've accumulated in your old 401k, you roll over into this bucket. So you already have different things such as mutual funds or whatever the different types of funds are in there. You're contributing more money from the outside now because this is your own plan. And the way that this money is going to grow, it's going to grow tax deferred. Meaning that every year you have a gain, Uncle Sam isn't going to be touching your gains. So ultimately, you have the power of compound interest, which is going to work in your favor. You have more funding options. With a 401k or different employer-sponsored retirement plans, they say, hey, we're going to give you a retirement plan, but ultimately it might be 5 to 15 different funds, 10 to 20, a lot of smaller funds because it's more expensive to give you the better, more abundant funds in there. So with this, you could go into a Bank of America, Fidelity, a T. Rowe Price, say I want to open up a traditional IRA, I want to roll over my existing funds over into it, or just want to start up a traditional IRA, and they might give you 300 different funds to choose from. So you have more eggs in your basket to kind of play with. Like everything, these are all the pros. And that's very good. You know, you're keeping your money with you. Everything's working excellent. You have more control of your money or of your funds, of your retirement. But there's a lot of cons to this. It is fully taxable. Because you were getting that tax deduction, when you hit attained age and you want to start taking that money, it's going to be 100% fully taxable. Right now, tax brackets are at all-time lows. So a lot of the older generation, a lot of baby boomer generation, tax brackets were at all-time highs during the 1960s, 70s, 80s. So they were able, these type of plans were able to work perfectly for them. They were able to go and take their tax deduction when tax brackets were at all-time highs, understanding when their assets accumulate and they're at retirement age, tax brackets are all-time lows. Perfect. Worked out excellent for them. Right now they're retiring, tax brackets are all-time lows, and they've taken full advantage of everything. Unfortunately, now for the younger generation, tax brackets are all-time lows, and a lot of economists and different different specialists are basically saying that based on past historical trends, that tax brackets with the economic deficit, different things of the debt, they're going to be much higher when the younger generation wants to retire. So this is going to be fully taxable. You have a 59.5 rule, which means you cannot touch your money to age 59.5. Let's say you're 49 years old and you've been accumulating this money since you were in your 20s. And now you want to, something happens, a tree comes, falls through your house, you need that money, you need to take from it. And you say, okay, I have $100,000 in my traditional IRA, give me the money. Let's just say you're hypothetically at a 30% tax bracket. What they're going to do is they're going to hit you with a 10% penalty tax and whatever your tax bracket is. So if you want 100,000, you'd only be able to take 60, and 40,000 would have to go to the government. A lot of people do not like that, and they said, I've been accumulating this money. It's not based on a time horizon, it's based on your age. So they want you, this is geared for retirement, they want you to retire within a specified time frame between 59.5 and 70.5, and they want to make sure that that's when you're taking your money. 59.5 rule. There's no match. Now with employer-sponsored retirement plans, one of the major pros with that is sometimes they offer you a match. A lot of companies have pulled away from it with everything that's going on in the economy right now. So this does not, because it's an individual retirement account, you're not giving a match to yourself. It's your own individual retirement account. You also have contribution limits. And these change every year, it goes up, goes down. Currently right now for an individual, it's $5,000 you can contribute into this. So say if you're making $300,000 and you said, okay, well, I don't really want to put into an employer-sponsored retirement plan, so I want to have an IRA and I want to try to prepare successfully for retirement, you're phased out, you're capped at $5,000 that you can contribute into these plans. So it's good for when you're leaving companies, but not ultimately the best thing, because it's good when you leave companies because you could actually control it, but not the best thing if you want to just start up and say, give me a traditional IRA, I want to kind of have the tax deduction because of the fact that you are limited on contributions, depending upon what your goals are for retirement. If the $5,000 is good for you, then that's perfect. But a lot of people want to try to contribute more into their retirement plans. Now, that was traditional IRA. Now, there's a main difference between Roth IRA. Back in 1998, like I talked about before, tax brackets were all-time highs, 60s, 70s, 80s. They understand now for the younger generation, tax brackets are all-time lows. Why would they want to get the tax deduction now when tax brackets are all-time lows and pay taxes later on when tax brackets are going to be at all-time highs? They're just going to be hurting themselves in the long run. So in 1998, Senator Roth created something called a Roth IRA. It's a non-qualified plan, meaning that it's post-tax. Basically, you're just not getting the tax deduction now to have tax-free money later on. These are very attractive right now. People don't really understand it too much, so this kind of gives you the different pros and cons of the breakdown. This is going to grow tax-deferred. The money that's going to accumulate in these plans is going to grow very tax favorable. When it grows up to a large enough bucket, Uncle Sam every year isn't going to be able to touch the taxes on it because you're not getting the tax deduction now, meaning you're going to have tax-free money later. Every time that it grows, he can't touch his money, so we'll just allow it to compound much faster. You have more funding options. Unlike an employer-sponsored plan, when you're limited on your funds, you could go to a Bank of America, T. Rowe Price. You could even give us a call. We could help you designate which institution is more favorable based on your specific needs, risk tolerance, things like that. But ultimately, you could have 300, 400 different funds, and you have more eggs to play with, tax-free, like I said before. Now, there's a lot of cons to this as well. You cannot touch your gains until age 59.5. So let's just say you put in $10,000 into this plan and it grew up to $50,000. You're not going to be able to touch that $50,000. You can only touch your cost basis before 59.5. The cost basis would be $10,000. So a lot of people say, I still don't like that. I still want to retire before age 59 and a half, but I can't do it. I want that tax-free money. Derek, I understand everything you're saying. I want it, but I just can't do it. So you can't touch your gains until age 59 and a half, or else you get hit with a 10% penalty. Contribution limits. This is the big thing. Just like the other individual retirement account, there's contribution limits. Currently, it's $5,000 where you could contribute. It can go up, it can go down. It all depends upon the year. So, I mean, be mindful of that. You can give us a call. We can let you know exactly for that year, whenever you are watching this video, which one pertains specifically to that year. Income limitations. Rule of thumb is six-figure income. Right now, it's about $106,000 per individual. So if you have aspirations, you're starting a career, you have aspirations to make over 6 figures of income. And once again, it's going to change every year. Roth IRA, it's called something called a phase out, meaning that you cannot contribute into these plans. So say if you were making 50 grand, 60 grand, 70 grand, and then all of a sudden now you're making $120,000, $160,000, you would phase out of these plans. So anything that you contributed into these plans just has to sit on the sidelines. You can't contribute any more into it. So you can't necessarily get all those great pros with the tax-deferred growth and all that stuff. It would still grow tax-deferred, but you just cannot contribute into these plans. It's also not tax-deductible. That's kind of what you're passing on. You're passing on the pre-tax to get the favorable post-tax in the younger generation to understand, I'm not going to get the tax deduction now. Tax brackets are all-time lows. And basically it'll be tax-free later. Also, when you want to convert, and this is the main reason why someone gets a traditional IRA, is if they've left their employer, you have to roll it over because it's a qualified plan. You can only roll it over into a traditional IRA. You can't roll it over into a Roth IRA. There's different stipulations, there's different things you can, but it's very, very specific on how to do it, and you get hit with certain taxes. You have to pay your taxes up front, you get hit with certain penalties. So once again, you can give us a call. We can kind of explain that to you a little bit further. The main difference between these ultimately is just the way it's taxed. You have any questions, this is going to be generalized information. It all pertains to your specific, your occupation, your financial goals, your family goals, and we just mold a designated plan to your specific situation. Now, you could give us a call. We have a toll-free number. You could contact us via email, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we even have something set up on the website where you could actually do website video conferencing with us. We'll send you a link, and you can actually see our face. We'll mold a designated plan to your specific situation. And that's basically it. We're here to try to help you try to become as educated as possible to your specific situation, your specific needs, your specific goals. We'll hand you literature pieces. We'll do videos with you, whatever it is to try to get you as educated as possible. Once again, my name is Derek Afasi, and I thank you very much for watching this video.